This is dedicated to the homies that was down since day one. Welcome to Drop D.
This is Alan Dale. I'm the Executive Director of the Assassination Archives and Research Center. I have the privilege of serving as an administrative research assistant to Dr. John Newman. And you are listening to Quick Hits with the very discerning Doug Campbell and the equally distinguished Rob Clark. And my thought is this: if you have a problem with these dudes, then you'd better check yourself before you wreck yourself. Word.
Welcome to Quick Hits, a JFK assassination news and notes podcast with your hosts, Rob Clark and Doug Campbell.
What's up, everybody, and welcome to Quick Hits, a JFK assassination news and notes podcast. I am Rob Clark, one half of your broadcasting duo here today, and along with me is my beautiful partner, Mr. Doug Campbell. Doug?
Today I'm beautiful. You know what well, thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the complimentary introduction there. You know what I am today? All effed up and not enough coffee. I haven't had enough coffee today.
You're beautiful on the inside, sir.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you
Yes.
It would be more beautiful if it was soaked in coffee from K-Cups, but we had this crazy windstorm yesterday. This normal line of average thunderstorms come through, but there's like 80-mile-an-hour winds behind it. And got that for like 8 hours, no power overnight at the house, no electricity at all. So my caffeine this morning on the way to work was a Coke Zero, which I love Coke Zero, but man, that Pike's Place out of the Keurig first thing in the morning, it's a whole different kind of crack. You know what I mean? So,
Well, I'll tell you what that storm didn't do, Doug.
what's that?
Fuck up this broadcast.
That's right. We're ready to go, man. We have timely, informative type things to share with our inquisitive audience, don't we, bro?
We do.
We should get started on that, maybe.
Well, let's jump right in. I mean, it is Quick Hits. Let's fucking quickly get into it.
Let's quickly hit it. Yes. Let's quickly hit it. Last time, Rob, on the show, you read Bill Kelly's list. Bill Kelly from his the researcher William Kelly from his website, JFK Counter Coup. His list of, was it 10? I believe it was 10 smoking gun documents.
Yeah, in his opinion, his top 10 smoking gun documents released since, I guess, the ARRB, released since 97. So, yeah.
And that got us to talking. We actually mentioned on the show, well, we should do that, like a list, right? We should do a list of our own, like really important smoking gun type documents. Now, we probably won't do a list, but we did think of a couple.
We did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, Rob, we should present that to the audience, these two documents, because they really are of the smoking gun variety in our opinions. When you break them down,
Yes.
context.
All right.
You ready?
I am ready.
All right. This first smoking gun, Rob, relates to the appearance of who our friend, Alan Dale, calls the Oswald figure in Mexico City. A little less than 2 months prior to the assassination. But first, dude, and I know I've asked you this before, and we've talked about it before, but right off, I want to ask you, do you believe that the real Lee Oswald was in Mexico City, as the official story tells us?
If he was not doing what the official story tells us. And that's my personal belief. If he was in Mexico City, he was not the one talking to Sylvia Duran and going to these embassies. He was down there doing something else. And the question then becomes, what is the something else?
Yeah. And who was the other Oswald?
Right.
Yeah. who and why. Well, I think to me it's pretty clear why they impersonated him that way, because they meant to get a voice identifying himself as Lee Oswald on a wiretap. That was the whole
Agreed.
plan. You know,
Yeah.
that was the whole plan. Now, myself, I'm to the point now. I used to think, does it, does it really matter? Yeah, it does. It does. And I don't think it was him, dude. I honestly think he was probably in Dallas, or at least Texas, being babysat at the time, is what I think.
Yeah, well, I guess it's been a couple of weeks ago. On my show, I read a lot of stuff concerning Oswald's sightings at the time he was supposed to be in Mexico.
Yeah.
And this was all throughout Texas. It was in Alice, not Dallas, Alice, Texas, Laredo, Houston, and several other places kind of in mid-southern Texas. And I can't remember when the alleged McCown thing happened, or was alleged to have happened, when Oswald went there and asked for rifles.
You know, I can't remember that either, and I've talked about that recently, or within the last year, on the show with David Boylan.
But I want to say it was about the same time. You know, it was about the same time in late September, early October, when he was supposed to be in Mexico.
In the latter half of the year, anyway, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that Oswald was in Mexico, but I'm saying if he was not this guy that was running around between these embassies identifying himself as Lee Harvey Oswald.
That's right.
That's my, yeah.
And, I'm sort of the opinion he probably didn't even go to Mexico, but that's neither here nor there. We'll put it that way. Like the smoking gun, the first one we're going to share is, to me, pretty convincing proof, given the context, that the real Oswald did not visit the Cuban consulate and the Soviet consulate in Mexico City. Now, remember, according to the official story, guys, the Warren Report, the Warren Commission, and their defenders, according to all them, a real brief hit the high points about the Oswald in Mexico City thing. According to the official story, Rob, Oswald took a bus to Mexico City in September of '63, ostensibly to get tourist visas to Cuba and to Russia. Now, on Friday, September 27th, I think, he showed up at the Cuban consulate once, or at the Soviet consulate once, and the Cuban consulate 3 times on that Friday. And both times he was there, he lied to him. And he told both that he had received visas from the other. It turned out to be a lie. The Cubans and Soviets talked between the visits amongst themselves. And when Oswald was refused at the Cuban consulate, he exploded and caused a scene. Now, the next morning, again, according to the official story, the real, actual Lee Oswald showed up at the Soviet consulate again and exploded and caused another scene, waved a damn loaded pistol around this time, screaming about the FBI. Now, a little bit later, Sylvia Duran, this lady named Sylvia Duran, who was the secretary at the Cuban consulate, called up the Soviet consulate on the phone and said there was a guy there that wanted to talk to him. Now, the man got on the phone and told him I'd been there and I accidentally gave you the wrong address. But he told him, look, I'm back here at the Cuban consulate. I've left them the right address, and is it okay if I come by there and give you the right address? And they said, sure. Now, 3 days later, there was nothing. Nothing happened. 3 days later, October 1st, the same guy called the Soviet consulate twice, saying he was following up on the September 28th call. And he was asking about his visa request. The second call, he actually identified himself as Lee Oswald. Now, all these notes come out of Bill Simpich's book, State Secret, Rob, and he writes here, this is the legend in Mexico City, or the legend of Oswald in Mexico City. And, of course, records indicate he left Mexico City on Wednesday, October 2nd. Now, the CIA, Rob, the Warren Commission, their defenders, they'll all tell us, and they have told us for almost 60 years, that the tapes of the real Oswald in Mexico City phone calls were, as a matter of routine, destroyed, taped over, long before the assassination. Sent off for transcription. They got transcribed, sent back, taped over. Right?
Correct, yeah.
But wait, my friend. Wait, my other half of my dynamic broadcasting duo.
Wait.
I never had a chance to... Okay, I better stop that. That's ridiculous.
Easy with the White Tiger, boys.
I know. White Lion.
White Lion.
You remember
yes.
the lead singer's name?
Ah, damn it.
Mike Tramp.
Yeah.
You think that was his real name?
Probably not.
Probably not. No way. Now, it's time for the smoking gun, dude. The smoking gun doc. Again, very convincing evidence to me that it's bullshit. It's indicative of an operational impersonation of Oswald. And it's also damning evidence that the audio tapes of these Mexico City phone calls did exist in November and that the FBI heard them. Okay? Now, this document, Rob, is dated March 5th of 1976. Or is that right? Did I write? Yeah, 1976. It is a church committee document, Mr. Rob.
Yes, church committee.
Yes, the SSCIA. Mr. Joe Bax, record number 157-10014-10168. OU812. References, title, references to FBI review of tapes of Oswald's October 1st, 1963 Mexico City conversation. Again, references to FBI review of tapes. All right. It says here, to Senators Schweiker and Hart from their staff, which I assume is research staff, Rob. Yes. It says, references to FBI review of tapes of Oswald's October 1st, 1963 Mexico City conversation. On February 19th, 1976, the staff received a November 23rd, 1963 Bureau memorandum, which J. Edgar Hoover forwarded to President Johnson under cover letter, explaining that the memorandum set forth, quote, the results of the Bureau's inquiry into the assassination of President Kennedy and background information relative to Lee Harvey Oswald. In relevant part, the memorandum states, and remember, guys, this is on the 23rd from Hoover to Johnson. The CIA advised that on October 1, 1963, an extremely sensitive source had reported that an individual identified himself as Lee Oswald, who contacted the Soviet embassy in Mexico City inquiring as to any messages. Special agents of this bureau who have conversed with Oswald in Dallas, Texas, have observed photographs of the individual referred to above and have listened to a recording of his voice. These special agents are of the opinion that the above referred to individual was not Lee Harvey Oswald. Now, why is that so smoking gun, Rob, that paragraph?
Well, you know, when you're looking at a photo of somebody that clearly is not Lee Oswald, okay, that they're saying might have been, you know, I could see how you can screw up, you know, they might have thought that this guy was Lee Oswald. He might have already been in the embassy and left. And they might have thought that this guy was Lee Oswald. He might have been summarily identified as Lee Oswald, even though it has nothing to do with Lee Oswald. But when you're talking about a recorded, tapped phone conversation in which the subject specifically identifies themselves as Lee Oswald, but doesn't sound a thing like Lee Oswald. That's a problem.
That's a big problem. And the FBI agents who had conversed with Oswald in the past, and I think we can probably count we can pick those guys out, I think.
Yeah.
Count them on one hand probably.
Yeah. DeBreeze, Hosty.
Yeah.
Book out.
DeBreeze, Hosty. What about, what was DeBreeze's little running buddy in New Orleans? Another special agent there in that office. He shows up in a lot of the paperwork. Was it Fain? Or is that wrong?
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But Quigley would have known, too. That's the FBI guy that met with Oswald in New Orleans.
Yeah.
In jail.
That's the one I'm thinking about. Quigley. Yeah. So that's what, 4 or 5? But you're right.
Milton Cock might have known.
He may have.
Old Milton Cock.
May have known a lot of things. But to me, this is pretty unbelievable. This is J. Edgar Hoover himself putting in writing to the President of the United States that the FBI has already, by November 23rd, heard the Mexico City tapes and that the voice claiming to be Oswald on those tapes was not Oswald. And that also tells us that at least by then, they still existed.
Correct.
At that point. You know what? It's my opinion that when the paperwork starts turning up, if you follow the trail through the documentation, the paperwork starts turning up about them being destroyed.
Yeah.
On the 25th. But then to the church committee, they give them those memos with attachments dated like the 23rd from the CIA and shit. Like the copies they have in the 70s have updated attached memorandum to them.
Yeah, because, dude, if they had legit photos of Oswald in Mexico City, and if they had legit audio of Oswald speaking to these embassies, it would not have disappeared, folks.
It would have been on the cover.
Used to crucify this guy.
It would have ran in Life magazine in the same issue in which they printed the backyard photo on the cover.
Yeah, somebody would have made an album out of it.
Oh, yeah.
In 1964.
Oh, they would have had storyboards at press conferences with that shit, if they'd have had that. Yeah. But the tapes, dude, the tapes. Here's what the staff tells Schweikert and Hart about this paragraph here, and I'll read it again. The CIA advised that on October 1st, 1963, an extremely sensitive source had reported that an individual identified himself as Lee Oswald who contacted the Soviet embassy in Mexico City. Special agents of this bureau who have conversed with Oswald in Dallas, Texas, have observed photographs of the individual and have listened to a recording of his voice, the individual in Mexico. These special agents are of the opinion that the above referred to individual was not Lee Harvey Oswald. And then they say this: you are aware of the significance of this language. You are also aware that the stated position of the CIA, as reflected in the testimony of David Phillips and contemporaneous CIA cables, has always been that the actual tape recording of this conversation was erased sometime in October of 1963. Now, this memo continues. Check this out, Rob. By letter dated February 19, 1976, we asked the Bureau to deliver all materials pertaining to the receipt, analysis, review, and present whereabouts of the voice recording referred to on page 5 of Mr. Hoover's report to the President. The Bureau's response, dated February 24, stated, the recording in question was never in possession of the FBI. Prior to receipt of this response, the staff met with the agents responsible for its preparation. The agents then showed us an unexcised copy of the attached November 23rd, 1963 teletype from Special Agent in Dallas, which advised that the actual tapes from which this transcript was made has been erased.
Imagine that.
Yep. Says tapes obtained by deletion here erased after 2 weeks following making of typewritten transcripts of contents of these tapes. Right? That's now. Here's what the staff tells Schweikert. This is next. The staff submits that the matter is not as simple as the Bureau asserts. What that means is, hey, we're calling bullshit right here. Attached at tab is a Belmont to Sullivan November 23rd memorandum in which Belmont recounts his 11:50 a.m. telephone conversation with Special Agent in Charge Gordon Shanklin. In the second paragraph, Belmont states, Inasmuch as the Dallas agents who listened to the tape of the conversation, allegedly of Oswald, and examined the photograph of the visitor, and were of the opinion that neither the tape nor the photograph pertained to Oswald. That's twice. That's twice. Once from Hoover, and once from Belmont to Sullivan.
Right.
That they did exist. Now, to me, that's smoking gun already. You've got two different sources in the FBI saying, we heard the Mexico City tapes, and that's not Oswald. I mean, that's two different sources, right?
Yeah, and it's smoking gun that all of a sudden they don't exist anymore.
Yep. On the 25th, the day after Oswald is murdered, they're miraculously gone. Now,
how convenient.
How convenient. Now, it's very clear to me from these memos that the CIA lied, that the tapes did exist, and that even Hoover, certainly his special agents, Rob, were of the opinion that the man on these recordings identifying himself as Lee Oswald was not the same man they had in custody in Dallas and had interviewed and talked to prior in Dallas. You would agree, right?
Right.
Right. Now, there's a postscript to this. All right, more corroboration, and that this is a third incident, but it's more corroboration from the director of the FBI himself, okay? I'm going to read now from the website historymatters.com, Rob. You know that website, right? Rex Bradford's thing?
Oh, yeah.
Man, we're over there a lot, aren't we? That's a great resource.
Yeah, between that, Mary Farrell, and the Ark Library, yeah, they're all over the place.
I highly encourage everybody that likes to study this stuff, history-matters.com. All right. Now, this postscript, I'm going to read from that website, this fine piece of research, Mr. Rob, that I'm sure you've read before, from April of 2000 by Mr. Bradford. It's called The 14-Minute Gap, okay? Now, this was in 2000. And he writes, at the last JFK Lancer conference in Dallas.
Hang on, Doug.
Yo, yeah.
Are we referring to the space between Judith Vary Baker's legs? Or is it something else?
Man, dude, it's like I wish I could I wish I could clean my brain with sandpaper right now. You know what I mean?
Pray continue, sir. Sorry.
Dude, this aggression will not stand, man. Wow. Oh, that mental image. Anyway, I know. I was about to say, what was that again? Say that again.
What?
Woo.
Woo.
Ric Flair, ladies and gentlemen.
Woo.
Woo. He's talking about John Newman's presentation in 1999 at JFK Lancer. Says he gave, in this talk, he discussed in detail the existence post-assassination of the famous Oswald Mexico City tapes, what we're talking about here. One of the most astonishing documents to surface in this regard was a transcript. Again, a transcript of a phone call between FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover and Lyndon Johnson. The call occurred at 10:01 a.m. on the morning of November 23rd. Right? The most explosive portion of this transcript is right here. I'm going to read it to you. LBJ, have you established any more about the visit to the Soviet embassy in September? Hoover. Here's what Hoover tells Lyndon Johnson on the phone. No. That's one angle that's very confusing for this reason. We have up here the tape and the photograph of the man who was at the Soviet embassy using Oswald's name. That picture and the tape do not correspond to this man's voice nor to his appearance. In other words, Mr. President, it appears that there is a second person who was at the Soviet embassy down there. All right? Again, the man, he even said, right here, Rob, we have up here the tape and the photograph of the man who was at the Soviet embassy using Oswald's name.
Right. And like I said, I can understand them fucking the photograph up, okay?
Yeah.
But you can't screw up audio of somebody claiming to be Lee Oswald at the embassies, you know?
No. But this is a plain admission.
Hello, my name is Lee Oswald. I'm trying to get to Russia, man.
My name is not Diego. Yeah, really. You know, like who was it? You know? But what we're saying
is, Sylvia Audio, why don't you bring that ass over here, mommy? Damn, Sylvia.
Boy, Rob's in a great mood today, isn't he? Wow.
Damn, girl, shoot.
I bet Rob had electricity all night. That's why he's in such a great mood today.
Why don't you meet me at the buffet later, mommy?
The buffet? The buffet?
The bullfight, homie.
Oh, bullfight. I thought you said buffet.
The bullfight, yes.
But think about this.
That's real. What real men are made, at the bullfight, homie.
Isn't that what, wasn't Oswald, did he go to a bullfight or some shit? Isn't that what they say?
Yeah.
Or something? Yeah. That's where you were going with that. Yeah, I'm a little slow this morning, like I said.
He also allegedly banged Sylvia Audio, so.
Or Sylvia, or was it Sylvia Duran?
Oh, yeah, shit. Yes.
Yeah, was it her?
Duran.
Yeah, well, that's
Duran, yeah.
The secretary at the Cuban consulate.
Yes.
But think about this, man. This right here is smoking gun. This conversation between LBJ and Hoover, that is smoking gun shit. Hoover says the man using Oswald's name. And he also said, we have up here the tape. We have up here the tape.
The tape, yeah.
We have up here the tape. That's there you go, guys.
Smoking gun worthy, yeah.
Yeah, as of 10:01 a.m., those tapes existed, right? And the postscript of this story is that right after that conference, Rob, Rex Bradford went to the LBJ library or called the LBJ library and decided to, once that broke, right? I guess Newman, I suppose, broke the transcript at Lancer that year and actually broke that smoking gun. Well, Mr. Bradford buys the cassette, right? He's like, oh, I need to get that. I want that conversation, right? So he does his research, and sure enough, from 9:06 p.m., this one tape that he did buy, it contained all of the phone calls, recordings from side A here was from the day of the assassination, 9:06 p.m. He talked to Arthur Goldberg. And this one went all the way to the next day, Saturday the 23rd at 2 p.m. when he talked to Mrs. J.D. Tippett, right? Mm-hmm. Sure enough, right there, dude, listed 10:01 a.m., J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover. And I'm going to read, to finish up, what Mr. Bradford, how he described what happened next. Imagine my surprise when the first few phone calls taped on the evening of the 22nd sounded perfectly clear. Then came, according to the printed call log on the cassette label, the 10:01 a.m. Hoover call that contained the smoking gun, guys. At this point, the tape emits over 14 minutes of silence, interrupted only by some kind of pop or beat about every 7 seconds. The next conversation, which is denoted as beginning at 10:17 a.m., sounds perfectly clear again. only the Hoover call is silent.
Ain't that a coinky-dink?
Ain't that a coinky-dink? Yep. And that's another reason why I think it's a smoking gun. Somebody knew damn well, Rob, that was a smoking gun, and that had to be erased. But they missed the transcript, and we have it. So that is the first smoking gun, guys. Evidence that not only did the tapes of the Cuban and Soviet consulate wiretaps exist as of November 23rd, but they proved that it wasn't Oswald making the phone calls. Not only that, but Hoover admits it, right?
Yep, pretty damning.
Yeah, pretty damning. I am to understand you have some very interesting ballistics type smoking gun type stuff there for us, Rob.
I do.
So you have
you
have a ballistics smoking gun.
Ballistic smoking gun. It's not necessarily from a document per se. It's from testimony of FBI agents. Now, to preface all this, Doug, I mean, we must go back, of course, in time to the early 1960s, all right, where, this is before DNA. This is before any sort of sophisticated test. I mean, they're still doing lie detector tests. They're still relying on nitrate tests that are very vague. This is, and look, back then, a lot of these trials, like if Oswald would have went to trial and they would have had to come into a courtroom and prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that that the rifle was owned by Oswald, that the bullets were shot by the rifle, and his fingerprints are on the bullets in the rifle, and all this and that, which of course the Warren Commission tried to do in absentia, but it's very unlikely that any of this would have held up in court back then, because quite frankly, it was all pseudoscience back then. Nothing had really been established there was no need for it, really. I mean, Jack Ruby shot Oswald. Do you think they brought in a bunch of ballistics experts for his trial? No. They tried him on the fact that he shot Oswald
on national TV. Yeah.
Right. It was pretty cut and dry. A lot of things back then were very cut and dry.
Yes, sir.
There wasn't a lot of need to prove. It was let me put it this way. It was very hard to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, one way or another, whether or not someone had committed a crime. The rules were a lot looser back then, is what I'm trying to get at. And science hadn't yet caught up with technology and all of that. So, the Warren Commission did its own test. And the FBI did their ballistics test to try to prove that, CE 399, which was the magic bullet, was shot by the rifle, which was CE 139. And, based on lands and grooves and the matching the bore lines up with the rifle and this, that, and the other. Very vague stuff. Any lawyer worth their own salt could have been like, well, this means nothing, throw this out.
And that's an important point to make. Any lawyer worth his salt. And what I mean is so much stuff in the Warren report was useless in a court of law. I mean, in that book, The People versus Lee Harvey Oswald by Dr. Walt Brown, which is an unbelievable work of faction. We talk about faction a lot, and we never talk about that book. And to me, it's one of the top 10 books ever written on the assassination, because like the ballistics and like so many other things, that's basically what happens is they get a good lawyer and he just rips the shit to shreds.
Yeah, chain of custody, so on and so forth. Witness testimony. All this would have gotten thrown out way back. So you think, we move forward to the HSCA investigation where, now we're 15 years into the future. We've gotten a little bit more advanced in our analysis of weapons and munitions and how things work. And we're still not to DNA yet. We're still relying on fingerprints. We're relying on this vague technology of spectrographology and all this other crazy stuff. But one thing, it's hard to deny, Doug, when you start digging into things. All right. The bullet, all right, CE 399. Now everybody knows that as the magic bullet.
Yep, the impossible bullet.
The impossible bullet. The bullet that hit no bone, yet went through 2 men, causing 7 wounds.
And shattered wrist bone, right?
Yeah. Ribs, wrists, yeah, you name it.
The titanium bullet, dude.
Yeah, I mean, they had to bounce off something in Kennedy. Also, to come up through his throat, into his back and out through his throat, and then into Connolly, and do all this other stuff and come out looking like this.
Oh,
okay,
man. It's a physics anomaly, that bullet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we're looking through stuff, many years ago, and I tried to find the original documents that I was looking at, and I have problems finding what exactly I was looking at. I scoured everything that I had, dude.
Oh, man.
And I know it's been mentioned probably on this show and probably on my own show before.
Oh yeah.
But I couldn't tell you where. But me and Doug, we scoured everything that we could find to try to bring this about, the clearest way possible. And to us, it means something. Okay, so let me just read, Doug, a little bit of an exchange between a couple people, some ballistic experts, and the HSCA. Okay. So we have a Mr. McDonald and a Mr. Bates. And McDonald asks Bates, "Have you seen these exhibits before?" And he says, "Yes, I have." "And are those the FBI test fire bullets from 139? "Yes, they are." "And did you and your panel conduct an examination of these bullets?" "We did." McDonald says, "Would you please tell us what examination you did, and you can use Committee Exhibit F-103, which is on the easel, to assist you in your explanation." So he says, "First of all, the panel conducted a physical examination of each of the bullets and its physical condition. Then the members of the panel, including myself, conducted a comparative microscopic examination of both of the bullets in Exhibit 572. They were microscopically compared against each other." McDonald said, "Well, did you compare the FBI test bullets with your own test bullets that you recently fired out of CE 139, which is, of course, the Mannlicher Carcano?" Bates says, "Yes, we also made a microscopic comparison of that." "And what did the comparison show?" And Bates says, "The results of this examination indicated that we could not determine whether the FBI test bullets were in fact ever fired from the rifle CE 139.
Right? Oh, dude, repeat that for me, please. That's amazing.
"The results of this examination indicated that we could not determine whether the FBI test bullets from 1963, folks, were in fact fired from the rifle CE 139.
So which rifle were they, what rifle were they fired from?
Yeah.
Yeah, what rifle did the FBI test in 1964? Or 63, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they might have been fired out of there, but they could not match what they fired to the FBI test bullets from the same rifle. So that would tell you that the bullets, the FBI test bullets, likely did not come out of the Mannlicher Carcano CE 139.
Exactly. And Bates' next answer is great.
Yeah. So he says, would you please explain your answer? So Bates says, well, based on the microscopic comparison, there were differences in the individual identifying characteristics found within the land and groove impressions on the FBI test bullets and on the panel test bullets. And McDonald says, well, just so we're clear, when you are speaking of bullets, you're referring to the tip of what would be known as a cartridge. The complete projectile would be called the cartridge, correct? And Bates says, no, the loaded projectile in the cartridge case is the cartridge. The bullet is a portion or tip that is released upon firing of the cartridge.
You know what just happened? The guy, he literally asked the FBI expert, are you sure you're not comparing the bullet to the casing?
Right.
You know bullets and casings are two different things, right, Mr. McDonald?
Yeah.
Wow, man.
Are you saying in your test fires, your comparison with the FBI test fires, you could not say those bullets came from CE-139? Bates says, that is correct. McDonald said, would you have expected that result considering the number of times that CE-139 has been fired over the years? Oh, yes, we would have. Right?
I don't know about all that.
Yeah.
No.
So this is how they explain the difference, folks. He says that this rifle has been fired so many times over the years. Okay. It basically says our inability to identify our panel tests with each other and the failure to identify the panel test with the FBI test done in 1963 is believed by us to be due by one or a combination of several factors, Doug. Number one, repeated test firing of CE-139 over the years, causing extensive changes in the individual rifling characteristics within the barrel of the weapon.
How many rounds were fired out of that weapon while it was locked up in the National Archives?
You would assume it was just test fired a couple times. I mean,
well, in the file there, and I can round it up again and count, but it's just 4 or 5. There are photos of those exhibits.
Yeah.
And yeah, carry on, and I'll see if I can find that. I think I've got that. I can find that file.
This is number 2, natural variations caused by the high velocity of the 6.5 bullet, resulting in extreme heat and friction during the passage of the bullet through the bore of the weapon. And number 3, deterioration of the rifling surfaces over an extended period of time due to the absence, Doug, of proper cleaning, maintenance, and or protective lubrication, despite this rifle being in the very protective hands of the foremost rifle and ammunition and gun experts in the world, who would have let this important piece of history fall into such shoddy, non-firing disrepair instead of actually taking care of it and preserving it for the future of all humanity. Seems very odd to me, Doug.
It seems very odd. It seems very odd that it was fired so much to make a ballistics test moot. That's a ridiculous statement.
So,
how many times do they? I mean, look, it's not just on TV. They match weapons to old homicides all the time. And this was what, 14 years? 14 years. I mean, how many times could they have possibly fired that weapon? They test fired it for the Warren Report. They test fired it for the HSCA.
Right. It's not like they used this specific rifle to do all those, tests for the Warren Commission where they fired 100 rounds into dead pigs and sheep and whatever.
Right.
It wasn't this rifle, folks.
No. And all the reenactments and all the investigations and all the test firings, they didn't use that rifle. That's ridiculous. They used they're not going to take the murder weapon of a president down to Dallas to see if somebody could, fire off 3 rounds in six seconds. They're going to use a Mannlicher Carcano. I mean, yeah. I mean, and if they did use the real weapon, I'm certainly unaware of it, and
there would have been no reason to.
No, that would be, like you say, shoddy and negligent, just ridiculous. Right. But what he's saying, I don't see how the rifling characteristics in 14 years, it is a rifle. Those grooves are there. I mean, the grooves are not changing in that barrel. It just doesn't seem like to me that even if you've test fired it 20, 30 times in 1964 for the FBI and then put it away, I don't know. I guess I'd have to do some more research into how many times that thing was taken out and tested and fired 40, 50 times. But no, that's a lot of bullets to go down a barrel, dude.
Well, yeah, they act like they never cleaned it and just stored it, just put it in a box and never cleaned it, or, it's just, I don't know.
I don't know, man. I'm no Samuel Colt, but I know a little bit about guns, and I just don't see that happening to the point where if they, they could match it up from a 14-year-old test fire.
Yeah.
That kind of deterioration.
McDonald says, so what you're saying, you can't compare the bullets, but of course we have had previous testimony regarding the cartridge cases with firing pin impressions and the like, and because of the deterioration in the barrel, it has made it impossible to match up your test fires with the FBI test fires. Is that correct? Mr. Bates says that is correct. Yes. So there you go, folks. They couldn't match. The HSCA experts, ballistics experts, could not match conclusively that the bullets that they test fired from CE-139, the Mannlicher Carcano, and the test bullets fired in 1963 from the Mannlicher Carcano by the FBI didn't match.
They didn't match, but something did match. And that's the most ridiculous part of this whole swath of testimony to me. Right?
Yeah.
They can't, again, right? They can't, under oath, in front of the House Select Committee on Assassinations, look the guy in the eye and say that 570 or whatever, the FBI test bullets, right? We cannot match them to CE-139. But read the last part of his testimony. Do you have that part where he talks about the comparing the FBI test bullets from 63 to 399? Hey, Rob.
Yes, sir.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I was looking for it, but I think I already closed it out.
Oh, okay. He says another area of inquiry was the FBI's comparison of the pristine bullet found on Governor Connolly's stretcher with the FBI test-fired bullet. Did you do an examination regarding this area? Yes, I did. Will you please tell us what you did and what the findings of the panel were? The panel concluded, including myself, conducted comparative microscopic examinations of 399 and both of the FBI test bullets. What findings did you make? As a result of our comparative microscopic examination, it is our opinion that the bullet CE-399 was fired through the same firearm barrel that fired the FBI tests. And I'm no genius, Rob, but doesn't that mean if the test bullets don't match CE-139, right? But 399 matches the test bullets, doesn't that mean that 399 doesn't match the rifle either?
Pretty much, yeah.
It's one of these things is not like the other. 399 matches the FBI test bullets, but they can't prove the FBI test bullet. They can't match that to the rifle.
Correct.
That's the way I read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can't even prove it's that rifle, I mean, what if the FBI takes those test bullets into court in 1964 if Oswald had lived?
They would have laughed him out of court.
Laughed him out of court.
Any lawyer worth their salt could have gotten this case thrown out, and Oswald would have been a very free man.
Indeed. But due to just like those Mexico City tapes, once he died, it didn't matter. He's dead. Fuck, tell him we erased him. That's it. He's dead. It's over. He's our guy. We're just going to say he was totally unaffiliated.
How convenient.
How convenient. All this bad evidence, they didn't have to try to pass it off in a court of law. Which is, I guess, lucky for those guys. What do you think, Rob? This is a good place to take a promo break. Don't you think so?
Yes, sir. That's fine with me.
All right, guys. When we come back, we have some more awesome assassinated research-related topics for you, listener emails, and just a little bit of FB shenanigans. This is Doug for Rob. We'll be right back.
The next time you visit lovely Austria, stay at Farker's Head Roadside Motel. Ask for our presidential suite, where redneck podcasters stay rent-free.
Hey, Doug here, taking a minute to give you a heads up. An all-new issue of our favorite history periodical is dropping, guys, and that is issue number 11 of Garrison, the Journal of History and Deep Politics, from Midnight Rider News Publications at midnightridernews.com. That's writer with a W. Not a passenger on a horse, but one who commits language to paper. Midnight Writer, WRITER, news.com. This all-new issue, number 11, features a ton of articles from the realm of history and deep politics, such as John Brisson introducing us to the Finders, Ed Tatro on Lyndon Johnson and the Silver Star scam, William Weston on the CIA and the Texas School Book Depository, Jefferson Morley on Greenwald, Trump, and the JFK files, and of course our friend Larry Hancock on the RFK assassination. Also, Midnight Rider News founder S.T. Patrick on the independence of Tulsi Gabbard, and much, much, much more. That's issue number 11 of Garrison, the Journal of History and Deep Politics from Midnight Rider News Publications, available at midnightridernews.com as of October 14th. Order your copy now. Go on, get. And welcome back for part 2 of this episode 42 of Quick Hits. Hello, Rob.
Hello, sir. Glad to be back with you.
Glad to be back. How was your break, buddy? Stretch your legs a little?
It was an amazing piss. Amazing.
You know what I did? I ran to the roof, down to the first floor, back to the second, back to the third, then back in here. Basically what I did. Yeah. Busy morning, man. Busy morning. I'm multitasking today.
That's good. That's good, though.
Yeah, man. On a Saturday. What the fuck is that all about? Yeah, really. Hey, man, listen, real quick. We haven't done this segment in a while, Facebook shenanigans, but it's not a shenanigan that somebody posted on Facebook. This is actually a shenanigan by Facebook themselves, guys.
You know what? It's time for Facebook shenanigans.
There you go.
We haven't heard that in a while, Rob.
I know.
It's been a while.
The old
Man.
Benny Hill.
The old Benny Hill. The old Benny Hill. Man, Facebook censors, they're getting a little fucky, Rob. They're getting a little fucky.
Yeah, I'm starting to really hate Facebook.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I spend less and less time there, for sure. No doubt about that, which I probably shouldn't spend less and less time there. I'm the admin of one of the admins of a group, but you know how that goes. I'm like you. But the platform as a whole, right?
Apparently I'm the admin of 2 groups, and every once in a blue moon, Doug. I love this shit. I'll get on there and it'll say, you have a notification. And somebody wants to join this group, right? So I'll go in there and I'll see that there's like 20 people going back 8 months that have tried to join this group. And I'm like, oh, okay. Let them all in. And I got to approve all these posts. I'm like, shit.
Oh, is that you in the New Orleans group?
Apparently, I have no idea.
See, I thought that your buddy, our friend Carmine Savastano had taken over that group.
Yeah, but apparently when he left Facebook, it reverted everything back to me.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't really realize it.
I'll post a link. I'll post a link to the show over there,
Apologies.
and then like 8 months later, it gets. I'm like, that's episode 24. Let's see, that's where we at now. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh wow,
that's me.
Because I get the notification it's been approved, but that's okay. That's fine because, like you say, the platform itself is getting a little silly. A little silly.
What the fuck you gonna do?
Let me tell you what happened to our buddy Tim. My buddy Tim, he's active within the JFK assassination research Facebook groups. You know. Now,
Yes.
on back at the end of February there, on his personal Facebook page, he posted on the very anniversary of its publication an image of the February 1964 full cover of Life magazine with the Oswald backyard photo on it, right?
Right.
And his caption said, this is what it said, on this date in media history, 1964. Then he tagged Life magazine. It was immediately.
And there was his fatal mistake.
I didn't think about that. They're probably the ones that reported it.
Yep.
Yeah. But it got pulled down. And this is what they said. They said, your post goes against our community standards on dangerous individuals and organizations.
Very dangerous. Been dead for 59 years. Very dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a danger to a lot of people at this point. Yeah. I guess individuals refers to, or when it says dangerous organizations, seeing as it's Life magazine, maybe they mean the CIA.
Dude, who knows? What a fucking joke. I mean, you can go into any of these JFK groups, you know, and you'll see 10 autopsy pictures of somebody's head cracked wide open, brains dripping out, you know, bullet holes, and dead bodies and dicks flopping around everywhere. But that's what they flag.
That's what they flag, man. It's amazing. And it's literally just the cover of Life magazine.
I'm just waiting for them to say something about the name of my podcast. I'm just waiting for that to happen.
Wow, dude, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Just because it's got gunmen in it.
Yep.
You think it's coming?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's coming.
You
Enough
it's
people
coming?
complain about it. Yeah.
I wonder how many complaints you've had. I wonder if have you ever heard anything like that? People bitching about the name?
No, I have had to change the header photo there a couple times when I had a picture of a rifle or something in there or a sniper. They'll flag it as inappropriate or whatever. Yeah.
You know, we've got a rifle in the artwork banner of this show, Quick Hits, and I've never heard anything about that. But I suppose I should expect that.
Well, yeah, I reckon they fly under the radar for a while, and then all of a sudden, you know, boom.
You know, I'll bet you he's pretty active in the groups. I wonder if it was like a lone nutter who follows him or some shit that reported it. It could have been, but I think you're probably right. I think his fatal mistake was tagging Life magazine and with the blue lettering there, and we'll show this little fucking smart ass is probably what they thought.
Yep.
Tim, not that we think you're that at all, buddy. We love you.
No,
but
how often has Life magazine since 1963 put somebody with a rifle on the cover of their magazine? I would say probably never again.
That's a good question. That's a good question. Certainly, not an alleged presidential assassin holding the murder weapon. You know,
right? I mean, I don't remember a famous picture of Sirhan on the cover of Life magazine holding a revolver, or James Earl Ray, who didn't kill MLK, but was alleged to have done it. On the cover of Life magazine with a rifle. So yeah, it probably embarrasses them a little bit.
Yeah, probably.
I mean, not really embarrasses them. I mean, it got them a lot of attention back then. I'm sure they sold a lot of copies of that magazine. But to associate it with them now, everybody's all woke and shit, and yeah, you tag them in it, yeah, they're probably going to get flagged and pulled, yeah. But I agree, that's petty as shit.
Yeah, dude, you're exactly right. It's the pettiest of the petty. Almost as petty as a YouTube comment section. Almost, but not quite. Yeah. But anyway, that's our Facebook shenanigans for this episode, guys. Shame on you, Meta. Shame on you.
Zuckerberg.
Yeah, it ain't like he printed the picture. Fuck.
Suck a turd.
Suck a turd? Yeah, go to hell, dude. That's what I'm saying.
God damn.
Man, anyway, that's about all I got.
All right, Doug, I got a crazy story for you.
All right, man, we like those.
Yeah. This is a wild one. It's a wild one. Now, and we talked about Bill Kelly on the last show a little bit, but he's the purveyor of this story that John Judge and Mae Brussel and him met a fellow calling himself Donald Norton in like the early 70s at some kind of convention, who looked like Lee Oswald and kind of presented himself as Lee Oswald. Hey, don't you recognize me, right?
I've heard this story. Yeah, I've heard this story. I've heard him tell the story at Don Norton, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's pretty crazy to think that somehow, because, one shot to the gut normally is not enough to kill a person. Really. I mean, you might get lucky and you might, bounce off something and hit something else. But I would say 9 times out of 10, if you get shot in the gut, you're going to get a bullet in your stomach, might go in your intestines, and,
Well,
I don't know.
Haven't there been allegations of malfeasance, somebody doing some wound massaging to Oswald as soon as he got in the old ambulance there?
Well, I think even before that, I saw some footage the other day of them as soon as he got shot, okay, they dragged him back into the police station. Like, instead of keeping him out there, they drug his body back in and had him on the floor. And I guess they were waiting for the ambulance to get there, and they were, doing chest compressions or whatever they were doing. Who the hell knows? Or maybe they were just standing around doing nothing. I don't know. But there's always been, that fairy tale story that maybe Oswald could have survived that, or there was another Oswald, a double who survived and lived on for many years. But did you ever hear the story, Doug?
I have. It's been a while, though. I would like to hear it again.
Well, not that one, but have you ever heard the story of Jack Ruby surviving his death and living for many, many more years?
No, this is new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right.
Jack Ruby, who murdered President John F. Kennedy's assassin, is still alive, says a woman who describes herself as a retired government agent. Ruby says the ex-agent helped to plot the assassination and has lived for more than 2 decades under the protective custody of CIA agents also involved in the JFK shooting. The Dallas nightclub owner, she says, was given a new identity and a new face from plastic surgery.
A new face.
Yeah.
The heck you say?
He is not dead, but he wishes he was, the ex-agent said in a series of exclusive interviews conducted during 3 days of mysterious cloak and dagger meetings in Georgia.
Oh, I'm already loving this, man. He's not dead, but he wishes he was.
Ruby officially died of cancer in a prison hospital in 1967.
Right.
While awaiting a new trial 2 years after his conviction. But Virgie Lunsford, 77 years old, Doug, a tiny, silver-haired widow, says that she worked as a spy with Ruby for 12 years and knows where he is today, and it's not in a cemetery, Doug.
Really?
Really. Lunsford says Ruby confessed to her that he helped plan the assassination and stood next to Lee Harvey Oswald in the window of the schoolbook depository while Oswald fired one shot that struck the president in the head. Apparently.
All right. Well, wonder where the other ones came from.
She says he told her, "I was there with him until the rifle was fired," and then left, adding that 2 other agents on the grassy knoll also shot Kennedy. Lunsford says she agreed to talk only after Jack Ruby okayed the meeting. She arranged for me to be taken to a soundproof room to hear a tape recording of a conversation with Ruby in which the gravelly-voiced mystery man directs her to, quote, "get the truth out, Doug."
I'll be damned.
So not only is she saying this shit, she's got audio tape.
She didn't
Ruby.
recycle her audio tapes like the CIA station in Mexico City. She kept those damn things around.
Apparently.
Yeah. Audio proof. Audio. This is a recording of an older, gravelly voiced Jack Ruby post facial reconstructive surgery and all that. Cool. Lay it on me, man.
Lunsford says she has known Ruby for more than half a century. Under the name of Gene Dunbar, he was her contact from 1933 to 1945 when she was a secret government agent. Quote, "He was one of the best agents in the business," she says. "I believed he was dead until he contacted me and used our secret code word in 1980. Jack Ruby has been brainwashed. He's undergone numerous electric shock treatments in an attempt to make him forget the past, and now he is a tired, tortured man who wishes he had really died of cancer instead of having to live as someone else for all these years." Lunsford says she and her late husband, Leon, also an agent, met the man who claimed to be Ruby at an inn in Stone Mountain Park near Atlanta. "We were suspicious of this man," she recalls. "His face had been redone. But to my surprise, he grabbed a wrought iron chair, swung it around backwards, and straddled it exactly the way he always sat when we knew him. I looked at Leon, and he lifted his eyebrow, and it was the first sign that this was Gene Dunbar, the real Jack Ruby. When he began to talk, the language, the swear words that he always used, spilled out. He carried a tape recorder, and he flicked it on to play music like we did in the old days to drown out our conversation. Also, his terrible table manners had not improved. Lunsford, who has written an unpublished book about Ruby, says she first met him in Atlanta in 1933 when she was engaged to marry her now husband, Leon. She delivered a package to the man she would know as Gene Dunbar. He recruited her to work for a government intelligence agency. I took the name of Annabelle Mills, she recounts. My husband was already working under the name of Leo Leach. Gene and my husband carried guns. I never did. To my knowledge, Leon never shot anyone. I only know of one man that Gene shot, and that was Lee Harvey Oswald. In a few years, Lunsford and her husband became the parents of 2 children, and in 1945, they retired from counterintelligence work. The next time I saw Gene Dunbar was on television when he shot down Lee Harvey Oswald. I was shocked, but I knew that for whatever reason he was doing this, it was government work. Like the rest of America, Lunsford believed that the reports of Ruby's death in 1967, until in 1980, she received a bizarre letter without a return address. When I opened the letter, chills ran up and down my body. The letter was typewritten. It read, Gene Dunbar, Jack Ruby, a real name, Jacob Rubenstein. Then it gave the secret code word that we had used for 12 years. The letter was postmarked Chicago, so Lunsford ran a direct ad in a Windy City newspaper. And a few days later, her phone rang. At first, I didn't believe it was him. She says, I tested him on things that only he and I and Leon would know. His mind was fuzzy. He groped for answers. There were long pauses on the phone. And he told me that he had been brainwashed, that he had undergone so much hell with electric shock treatment that it would have taken all these years to remember who I was. The face-to-face. Lunsford was still suspicious, so she traveled to Chicago to meet the man face-to-face. I was surprised when the address he gave me turned out to be a nursing home. An old man came down the hall calling, Virginia! The name he always called me when we were alone. I didn't know the face, but I knew the walk. His hair was long and scraggly. He was wearing a shabby bathrobe, and his cock was hanging down, and was in his stocking
Rob.
feet. Sorry. The only thing halfway recognizable about him was his nose. After the visit, Lunsford said Ruby telephoned her often and in August 1982 came to Georgia to visit her. It was on top of Stone Mountain that he told me about the assassination, and he also described how fellow agents had whisked him away from the prison hospital where he had been treated for stomach problems.
Whisked?
Whisked. They took him to Mexico, where he underwent plastic surgery and was given the identity he now uses. The man buried in Ruby's grave was an unknown prisoner who actually did die of cancer. Gene says he was kept under virtual house arrest for years and went through a period of brainwashing where his mind was so altered that he would forget details of these events. He vaguely remembers being taken to a Mexican prison where the brainwashing took place. At least he thinks it was a prison. For years, he says he has lived with a blurry past, but in recent years, somehow it was all coming back to him, piece by piece. He did get to talk to Washington correspondent Dorothy Kilgallen, but she died at her desk while writing the story. She was one of many who died in those early days after Kennedy was killed. So there you have it, Doug. Ruby survived.
Ruby survived. I would like to hear that tape.
Right? I doubt we ever will.
No, like the Mexico City tapes, dude, they're gone.
Yeah, and that story was from the notedly great periodical Globe magazine, which you can find on your supermarket shelf in 1980.
Yes. As soon as time travel is invented. Absolutely. We'll go back and read that.
Yes, right next to Bat Boy.
So he went to, they took him to Mexico, and that's where they did all the surgery and all that good stuff.
Apparently so.
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Poor Jack. Never stood a damn chance, man.
Ah, poor bastard.
Poor bastard. Jack Ruby.
Oh, Jack.
Fuck Jack Ruby, dirty bastard.
Amen to that. That's kind of actually how I feel about the whole thing, Rob. All right. So what's next, Rob? What you got up for us next, brother? Is it email time?
Well, I don't know. I don't even know if we have any emails, to be honest with you.
Oh, well. I'm
Because
sure
we're doing this kind of quickly.
Oh, yeah. Thanks to me, right? Yeah, it's my fault. I told Rob, here's the thing, guys. We're a little early this month, but I had like a million things going on at the studio today. So I was like, hey, Rob, man, if we recorded a little early, on that Saturday while I'm there anyway, then I can, like, not have to go in for 4 Saturdays in a row. Wouldn't that be cool? And Rob's like, I love you, buddy. Let's do it.
Hey. So we have one email, but we'll get to that after this.
All right.
I wanted to let's do some dumb shit first, Doug.
Do we need some dumb shit?
We need some dumb shit.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I think Rob's found it.
That's dumb shit.
All right. What you got for us, buddy?
I got some dumb shit. Shit that pisses me the fuck off.
Oh, my
Okay?
God. I don't like that stuff.
It tears my last nerve. And not that I really, really give a shit.
Yeah. But
it really bothers me for some reason. It just tears at my soul. Okay?
Don't
That
you,
these
man?
Johnny come lately motherfuckers all over the internet who think that they know jack dick about the Kennedy assassination
Yeah.
and get on there on YouTube and spout this shit like they're some kind of an authority and get all these facts wrong. And it's just insane to me, Doug. I know it shouldn't bother me.
You know what, man? We're human. Some things that we know, don't you like those situations where I shouldn't let this bother me, but it eats me alive. And
Yeah,
I know
I mean,
what you're saying. It's people that's it's like they spend a few months just gobbling information, just taking, and then they just regurgitate it. And
right.
Everything is true. Everything is true. It's the presentation of conspiracy theory without critical thought and analysis to go with it.
Yeah, I'm listening to this show the other day, but I won't mention names because I like the guy who was a guest on this show. But the people that were doing the show,
yeah,
idiots. Okay, I'll just say they're from New York. And he's asking this guy, well, was it George? George Bush was there in Texas. He was photographed in front of the school book depository there. But, people try to say he was like 10 miles away or something. And it's just every kookily shit theory you could imagine.
Oh, yeah, well, they saw it on the internet once, so that makes it true.
Right.
So it deserves to be recycled and respouted.
Yeah, and the poor guy that they have on asking this, he's not a Kennedy researcher. They're doing a JFK-related show, like an hour-long show, and they bring a guy on who's a podcaster himself who interviews JFK authors and researchers.
Right.
He's not an actual JFK researcher himself. He's just, he's just recycling what he hears,
Yeah.
And so I had a guy on my show a couple years ago, Mr. X, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This guy was very much of the opinion that Israel and the Mossad did it, I think.
Yeah. So now he's come out of his shell. He's Corey Hughes. He's been on every every show you can imagine. Okay, asked to come on my show, asked to come on this show. Said no.
Hey, Rob.
Nay.
Rob, thank you.
Yes, nay. Because, and look, I'm sure Corey's a good dude, but he's got some out there theories about a whole lot of shit. But he's been on, dude, out of the blank. He's been on every show you can imagine. He's been on it. He's putting himself out there. He's writing a book. You know, his theory is Jack Valenti, okay, was on the grassy knoll, shot Kennedy from the grassy knoll.
Jack Valenti, really?
Yeah.
Well, Jack Valenti and Otto Skorzeny up there together?
Yeah, I guess. And David Morales is on the, photographed on the Queen Mary as they come through the underpass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and apparently, there's 30 people lining Houston Street with the freaking funny hats on and shit, like the what do you call them guys that drive them little cars and parades and
Shriners.
Shit yeah.
Shriners.
Yeah.
You know what? In 30 some odd years of researching this subject, I am loath to say this photograph has of yet eluded me, Rob. I would love to see it.
Oh, I'll show it to you. To me, it looks just like, it's a photo that's obviously been colorized, but it's people's flesh, it's hands, it's faces. But anyway, you get a vague picture of somebody with a hat. Oh, this is David Ferry in the railroad yard. This is William Seymour. Well, you can't even see his face. How the hell you know it's William Seymour? And then I called him out. I said, "Well, didn't you say William Seymour is the guy running down that Roger Craig saw? And getting in the Rambler. So how is he back in the railroad yard?"
I can't. Seriously, there are some personalities, I guess. It's media. Well, not media, like us, just people on the internet. Let's just face it, like us, people on the internet. But yeah, there are some of those where they're like a clearinghouse for theories.
Right.
But they present all those theories as if it's proven and written in stone. All together.
You got this guy on America's Untold History or whatever it's called. This Mark Gruber dude. I don't know why, but he just rubs me the wrong way.
Man.
And I've been told he's talked a little shit about me, but I can't find it.
Here's what I noticed about. Do you remember when that the movie The Assassination of Mrs. Payne came out?
Oh yeah, the guy that refused to come on my show but went on everybody else's show. Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
He didn't refuse to come on mine, but I didn't ask him. But
right.
But now I like that movie, and I believe Ted Rubenstein, our buddy Ted. Hey Ted, what's up, buddy? Hope you're doing okay out there in California, man.
Theodore.
Ted sent me a link to Grobert had, I guess it's Max Good. Is that his name? The guy that did the Payne film?
Yeah.
On his show, and Ted was asked, have you heard, I can't remember what it was, have you ever heard this? You should listen. And I listened to the majority of that episode, and the guy seemed he seemed obsessed with this rumor that Ruth and Marina were lovers.
Yeah.
And no matter what direction the conversation was taking or what really good insight the guest was giving into the process of making this film, dude always came back to that. And he went back to that like 3-4 times during the course of an hour-and-a-half episode. And I was watching it, and I'm going, what the fuck's the point? And there was no context. It's like, he's saying, and then Ruth, Oswald went to Mexico when she picked him up, and she picked Marina up in New Orleans. He's like telling the story, and it's like, yeah, well, they say that those two, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, yeah, baby. Like, several times, and from that point on, it's never occurred to me, oh, what's Alex Gruber got on his show this week? It's like, well, forget that, because it's not, I know we cut up here, but sometimes about some things, but so he just seemed to be obsessed with that, and he wouldn't get away from that subject. And I would like to think that that when we have guests on the show to discuss their work, it gets much more serious than that. At least on the Dallas action. I don't know about this one.
Yeah, no. Look, I can't blame him. I'd love to see a picture of Ruth throwing Marino down on the couch and getting down in there. But
hey, whoa,
hey,
hey,
now.
oh, hey.
And it irks me, with these random podcasts to get all these facts wrong all the time and regurgitate all these antiquated, debunked myths and theories and all this shit. And then I ran across this guy, Doug. This is what pisses me off. Because honestly, we're lucky to get, I don't know, 300 or 400 views on our YouTube videos.
Yeah, but, the shows, all three shows are, at least for me personally, surprisingly successful on podcast platforms. I'm constantly blown away by that. The listens and downloads across all the podcast platforms, but it hasn't translated to YouTube for some reason.
No. And I realize we don't do a video podcast. It'd probably be a lot more entertaining if we actually did a video podcast. I mean, I still don't understand why people want to sit there and listen to just audio on a screen with no moving pictures or whatever. But, whatever. If that's where you want to listen, great.
Yeah, I'm a consumer of the podcast. If it's I like all your stuff, I listen to on my phone. Yeah.
I have a podcast app on my phone where you can follow and subscribe to different podcasts, download new episodes. It's called Podcast Addict. I love it. But I ran across this son of a bitch, Doug, and you know why he just irks me to death. This guy.
Okay, yeah, this guy. I was about to ask, why can't he be just this guy? Go ahead.
Simon Whistler from the Decoding the Unknown.
I'm unfamiliar.
He has 220. So basically, he has 250,000 subscribers. Okay. This podcast, where I'm about to play you a little snippet of, has 300,000 views in just 10 days.
Wow.
Which blows away anything we've ever done combined.
One would hope that it was chock full of good information.
Yeah, one would think. Instead of just a bald douchebag reading horse shit off a tablet. Just let me play you this, Doug.
Go ahead,
and
man.
Just a couple minutes, just so everybody gets a little taste of why I'm pissed off. So here we go. Let me know if you can hear this okay.
If he saw himself as Jekyll and Hyde, it might prove provide insight as to why
he went out
sounds
good.
To put himself in front of the FBI. Alternatively, he could have just been a criminally insane moron. Oswald continued his pro-Castro activities in New Orleans for the next couple of months until his wife got a ride with her friend back to Irving, Texas, which is near Dallas. He was supposed to take the bus to join them a few days later after picking up his unemployment check, but instead he decided to take a detour to Mexico. Once in Mexico City, he went to the Cuban consulate and applied for a travel visa so that he could visit Cuba and then the Soviet Union. So he still likes the Soviet Union, even after he was like, they made me a lathe operator, I made no money, my wife didn't love me.
And it was cold, and everyone had guns and smelled like soup.
Why are you so enamored with the Soviet Union? It seemed to have been a bad time for you. Although your life seems to be a bad time, to be fair. So maybe you're just like, it was slightly less shitty there. I think it's like so much of life is just the attitude you have about it. Like, I don't know. I've always been like quite chipper. I've always been like, whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm up to. I'm sure if I was a lathe operator, sounds really hard. Honestly, I'm not even entirely sure what a lathe is. But like working in a factory or something, as long as it's not like crushingly physically demanding or something, I'd be like, I'd probably have some friends, we'd sit around, we'd have a laugh. I've done boring jobs, and I've usually been like pretty like, this is all right. This is all right. Fortunately, I've always been very ambitious, because otherwise, if I didn't have that ambition, I'd just be like, this is all right. I could do this. And then you're 50. But yeah, what am I talking about? It doesn't matter. Let's get back to who we're here to learn about, Harvey Oswald and not Simon. Though his visa was eventually approved, it took about 3 weeks. By that time, Oswald had already gotten bored and had gone back to Texas. However, the CIA was now well aware of his activities. This man had made national news by defecting to the Soviet Union, returned to the United States a few years later, and had now traveled to Mexico to contact the Cubans and the Soviets. They had every reason to suspect that he may be involved in some form of espionage, and the Dallas branch of the FBI was made aware of his activities. I've actually been to Cuba. It was quite interesting. There are all those old cars driving around. You got all these old buildings, people smoking cigars.
Do you want to try that survival food you keep seeing on Facebook?
All right,
But
there's an ad.
you don't want to
But
sacrifice
it's a good place to
anything.
stop anyway.
It's a vibe.
Wait, what?
Yeah. Cuba's a vibe.
No,
Correct.
I'm going back to the FBI was made aware of what he was doing in Mexico City because they thought he was involved in some sort of espionage. And wait a minute, isn't that the opposite of what happened? Weren't the lights dimmed on Oswald just before he went to Mexico City, or before the Oswald figure showed up there?
Dude, I don't know what he's reading from, but like I said, this show is like an hour and a half long, and he is zooming through facts. And I use that word loosely.
I was going to say zooming through information. We'll call it that.
He is zooming over stuff. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
and he tells the whole story apparently from Lee Harvey Oswald's birth to the fucking till his death in an hour and a half, and he is zooming through. You know,
Man.
He's a very fast talker. He occasionally has these little sidebars, but I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get it.
So I imagine if a guy were to sit down with that in a notebook and a pen and start noting mistakes and oversights, it would take a week, probably.
Oh, you'd be here all day.
Yeah, it would take a week, you know?
Shit, we could do a rebuttal video to that.
Hey, you know what? There's some douchebags out there doing it to us. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, I know one douchebag that did it to somebody else on his own show a couple weeks ago. Oh, that was me.
Yeah, but that's not the same thing. That's not the
That was
same
funny.
thing.
Yeah, I did it out of love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's a guy. On one of the recent episodes of the Dallas action, I did one of them on the Black Nine, talking about those documents, you know, that talk about the exfiltration team, the CIA head that they called the Black Nine. And there was one dude that actually put up a rebuttal video, but it's a pseudonym, and he immediately cuts the comments off. Right? If that is not the epitome of chicken shit, I don't know what is. You know?
Yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
posted stuff up there to have a discussion about it, not just a one-way conversation. I mean, what's the point of that?
Yeah, and again,
Turn your comments on.
oh yeah, because you know, every place in that episode of the Dallas action where I said, "Now, what if?" Right? That turned into Campbell says it happened. And that pisses me off.
Yeah,
Like-
and you can't refute yourself unless you. I mean, luckily you have a platform where you can get on here and you can say, you could do a refutation to anything anybody says about you. If you choose to do so, sometimes it's not even worth it to do it, you know. But look, we all know there's trolls and everything out there in the YouTube comments, but just turn them on. Don't be scared. Don't be
yeah,
scared.
really. Don't be scared. You know, but the guy, I don't know. It's just so goofy. You know, I'd do a whole video. I say a whole video. It was like 9 minutes or some shit, you know. And
I guarantee you we know who it is,
probably.
but we don't know who it is. But I guarantee you we would know who it is if they outed themselves.
Oh,
and not
there's no
hid behind
doubt.
a fake name.
Yeah, there's no
Now,
doubt.
obviously, they've been looking into the case for a while. They know a lot of shit about a lot of things.
Right.
So it's highly likely we would know who they are.
You know, Ted Rubenstein had a guess. He listened to it. and or he's the one that actually sent it to me. So did you see this? I'm like, fuck, here we go, trollism. But yeah, Ted had a pretty good guess. I won't say it on the air. I can't remember, to be honest. But you're right. We would know if this is. We go, oh fuck yeah, right, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, man. There's a lot of things I've noticed, if you go into like a podcatcher and you just type JFK assassination, things like the British guy you were playing, there's a lot of those in podcast form too, where they just kind of hit the high points, Yeah,
and get all the extraneous, quote, shocking horse shit that's ever been put out there, and there's nobody, because these guys aren't researchers. They're just, we're gonna do one episode, on the JFK assassination.
Yeah,
and they would look at Wikipedia or they hit the high points of something, and that's it.
Yeah.
And, God bless them.
God bless them. That's right. But guys, stick. If you want the heart, you need to be at the Dallas Action and the Lone Gunman podcast, and here. That's where you need to be. And you know what, man? I'm gonna throw a plug out there. Jeff Morley is doing a good job with his weekly podcast, the JFK Facts podcast. It's good stuff. I've been listening lately. They do a new episode on Thursdays, like live, and it uploads on the website on Tuesdays, I believe. Some interesting stuff on there. He's been doing it a lot more regular. That's a good one, but it's not on YouTube. So again, there you go. There's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these, they make it so hard to find them or sit behind a paywall or on some random Rumble, Bumble, fucking BitChute shit somewhere, and it's just, make it easy, folks. Make it easy. Put yourself out there.
Yeah, in this fast-paced world, it's not good to make people jump through hoops to listen to your stuff. And that's coming from an experienced podcaster. I will say that, right?
Or pay for your content. I mean, if what you're saying, look, nothing you're saying is worth charging somebody money for. Okay? And that goes not just out to any JFK podcasters, but any podcaster in general who wants to sit their shit behind a paywall. I don't agree with that, making the listeners pay for anything.
I don't either, man.
Listen to a couple ads. That's all we ask. That pays the bills, and we move on. Okay? Or if somebody is so kind and that they want to generously donate something, that's great on their own volition. But to solicit and charge for things is insane to me.
Yeah, I don't. That's something that you and I had in common from the get-go. And I think we're different in not only in the arena of JFK assassination research media, but in the arena of podcasting itself. We're different in that from the get-go, the idea of buy me a sandwich, buy me a cup of coffee, blah, 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 has always left a bad taste in our mouths. We're the same that way.
Yeah, look,
it's not.
And I'm a little bit more hypocritical about it because I do monetize my shows.
Yeah, but you don't beg. You don't.
I don't beg.
Yeah.
Just listen to a couple ads for me, and that'll pay my bills. Look, we do this in our spare time. I think it'd be great. Hey, if I'm getting paid for my time, great. If I get enough money to buy a decent ass microphone or a decent ass mixer or need a new computer, there's a lot of things that go into this that you need to do a good sounding show, and it's expensive shit if you want your show to sound good. And hopefully we're finally, and let us know if you think this show sounds more amazing than anything else we've ever done. It's because we've worked very hard to make it that way. And, we're very proud of the way that this show, this one here in particular, and those moving forward are going to sound for our listeners. Because there's nothing more disappointing, Doug, than getting on and downloading a podcast and trying to listen to a bunch of garbled ass shit. I mean, that's been the reason that I've quit doing this shit multiple times until I found a way to do it right.
Yeah, you got to okay, this isn't working. I'm going to have to stop and back up and figure out something better. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, man, I'm with you. I remember in the early days, you and I were talking about like Patreon buttons and all that stuff. And, I think you and I at one point we had an opportunity. There was some sort of sponsorship program with Amazon, or some deal. And we had an opportunity to do that. And I remember you and I talking about it. And this is 7-8 years ago. And I was imagining myself, right? I think I was driving in the car, like sort of running through something verbally. Like how would I say it? Hey, we've got, donate. And every time I started, it would make me cringe. Like, oh, right. Goddamn, do I want to be that guy? Fuck, And I decide, and luckily, neither one of us want to be that guy, And I've got Wall Street Window. God bless them. They sponsor the Dallas action. It makes the Quick Hits channel and the Drop D channel possible. Couldn't do it without them. But, nah, man, I can't do it. I can't do it.
Yeah, and Spreaker, luckily Spreaker monetizes my show and this show and from the vault and everything, and all that helps to pay the bills as well. We're not getting rich off this thing by any means. We're just getting by and hopefully, not going into debt doing this thing.
No, hopefully, definitely not,
Yeah, everything I get, it goes right back into buying shit for the show, whether it be new monitors, new microphones, new headphones, new computer, new mixing board, new soundboard, wires, everything.
Oh, yeah, I had to buy a 30-foot aux cable to get from this vocal booth to the console.
Yeah.
It fucking works great, doesn't it?
It does. But good luck finding a 30-foot aux cable.
Amazon, baby.
Yeah, you ain't going to find one at Five Below, though.
No, you're not. And if you buy one at Best Buy, it's going to cost $100.
Right.
Yeah.
This stuff's not cheap.
Hey, man, I am blessed. Dude, I am blessed. Like you've got some nice shit. Like this microphone I'm using, I'm borrowing, but it's a nice one. But what, and it is a lot of work, dude. It's a lot of work to try to get one to sound good, And guys, we do have a lot of technical difficulties, but Rob's right. We work our ass off to try to fix them. I'm usually here at the studio about 2.5 hours before we do this to set up, work out any bugs, make sure soundbite levels are right, make sure the level coming out of the laptop's right, going into the thing. Sometimes there's shit you got to fix, but before you get going. But yeah, he's right. It's a lot of work, a lot of fucking work.
Yeah, so hopefully you appreciate it. And if you'd like to donate, I'm just kidding.
And not to mention the work of actually prepping the content,
Yeah, I mean, there's hours and hours of research and writing and plowing through documents and plowing through websites and scouring, the various dusty corners of the interwebs and archives and this and that and the other. But we do it because we love to do it.
That's right.
We wouldn't do it if we didn't. And, we did it way back in the day. We weren't making a dime off this shit, and we're still here 10 years later. Still doing it because we love to do it,
We're coming up on 9 years, huh?
2014.
Yeah. April, May. April, May,
2014, yeah.
I think your first episode was like on May 6th, and we started talking about it in April, I believe, if I remember right. I can't remember.
Man, those old episodes are so cringe listening. God.
If you ever want to just go back 4 years, just 3 years and just delete everything. Like, I don't even want to hear people to hear this. Oh, my God.
Right. I mean, I think it's cool to leave it out there just for nostalgia's sake.
Oh, I would never do that because there's a thread that runs through them all. Just because they sounded like, well, now look, I'm lying. I'm fucking A. I deleted like the first 15 because they sounded like shit. But that was years ago, guys. That was years ago.
Yeah, and we've had episodes that have disappeared for whatever reason over the years, and but things are pretty much complete. Pretty much.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right, Doug, you ready to do our one massive email?
One giant email. Yes, sir. I'm ready. Let me find our, I believe we have a segment, musical intro for that, dude. Let's try it. Hey. There we go. The email. Wait.
All right. This email comes from our listener, Tim. Doug.
What up, Tim?
And it's aimed at you, sir.
Good.
He says, color me inspired.
Okay.
With Doug reading the first scene of his screenplay.
Oh, dude, you liked it. Awesome.
He says, I looked up the top 100 hits of 1963 to add some more musical color to your efforts. In case any of these work for you, please borrow away. So he's suggesting a little scene music for your various scenes in the movie.
Oh, cool.
With the spring 63 Miami meeting with mobsters and the Gunboat Cowboys, he is suggesting Mockingbird by Charles Fox.
Okay.
Now, I've never heard that song. Have you, Doug?
Not that I'm aware. Should we try to try to find it, play a little bit?
I'm looking it up right now.
Okay, yeah. Mockingbird.
And I will play it. Let's see if this works. All right, this is.
Hey, no dumbass. You want to get it together? I ain't got all day.
Hey, fuck you, mama. All right.
Wait. He called you Nostradamus.
Nostradamus, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're almost done, dude. Chill the fuck out. Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus.
All right,
Christ.
so here is the background music to a scene where in 1963 there's a meeting between the Gunboat Cowboys. And here's the song, Doug. Let's see here. Here we go. Hopefully there's not a
I dig it. You know how I see that in my
cruising through the waters off the Miami Keys.
You know how I see that in my mind's eye, man? Okay. Think this is from just let's say that's the meeting. They're walking. Who's walking to the meeting? Imagine a cut. You got that music. Now remember the scene in Reservoir Dogs when they're walking toward the camera slow motion?
Yeah.
All right. Two guys walking up a sidewalk. Right? Walking toward you.
Mm-hmm.
One's wearing shitty khakis and a Hawaiian shirt. Right?
Yeah.
One is wearing a very dapper suit. And it's in Miami. And it cuts to that scene. Play the music.
I'm already moving on to the next one.
But that music, that's Hall and Martino. Lauren Hall and John Martino. And they're walking slowly toward the camera on the way to the thing. Yeah, I dig it.
All right, here's the next one, Doug. This is a November 22nd, 7 a.m. in the morning discussion about using a bubble top or no bubble top, which I'm not sure was a scene in your movie, but we'll proceed like it was.
Okay.
All right, this is the scene music that he suggests. It's called Rhythm of the Rain by the Cascades. Here we go. Sorry, there's an ad. Goddamn. Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Take two. Bubble top or no bubble top?
You know what? I think he's. I like where Tim's going.
Yeah.
With the soundtrack, it's given it sort of a, dare I say, Scorsese-ish feel.
Yeah, it's nice. Very nice.
Yeah, very good choice.
Yeah. All right. And then we have a song I know you've heard before. So we'll skip grabbing it because we all know what it sounds like. But he's for a scene in New Orleans, in the summer of 1963, Heat Wave by Martha and the Vandellas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe at the Tampa Stadium appearance of John F. Kennedy.
Yes.
Yeah, leading into that scene.
Day will come. Okay. This next one is a scene, something involving anti-Castro Cubans. Okay. Talking treason. Okay. Let's see here. Here we go. Please no ads. They will come. Let's see. Lou Christie. You ever heard of Lou Christie?
I've heard the name. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
All right. Let's see if I can find Lou Christie. Here we go. This is for Oswald Doubles, Doug. Here we go.
I don't want the world to know. I don't want my heart to show. Two faces have
Good Lord.
Wow. Who is
Two
that?
Faces. Lou Christie. Two Faces Have I.
Oh, boy.
Alluding to the Oswald double phenomenon.
Oh, yeah, yeah. They did that a lot in The Sopranos, like subliminally music would, relate to something going on in a scene.
And another one we've all heard before, Fools Rush In by Rick Nelson. A crush of media converge on the DPD in the hallway. And
the Elvis tune, yeah.
For Lee Harvey Oswald's midnight press conference, you have Just One Look by Doris Troy. When Oswald gives that one look.
Oh, yeah.
Just one look.
Yeah, I remember that song.
Cruising to Texas in a bus. All right, I got to look this one up. This sounds good. Abilene by George Hamilton IV. Here we go.
Oh, wow.
Damn ads. Here we go. This is not Abilene. This is a Hendrix on a Kia commercial, apparently.
Oh.
Okay, here we go. Abilene. This is Lee Harvey Oswald cruising to Mexico in a bus, staring out the window.
Yeah, that's cool. I dig that. I can see that.
Yeah. The old man beside him on the bus reaches down and grabs his inner thigh.
David Ferry's on that bus too?
I sit alone most every night.
No, but William Gaudette was.
Watch those trains.
Indeed, sir.
Don't I wish they were carrying.
You know what this song makes me think of?
What's that?
Better Call Saul.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it makes me think of it would be something you'd see in Better Call Saul.
And then we got one more for his closing credits, Doug. Closing credits of the movie that you have written, sir. Let's see. Peter. Here's the closing credits for Doug's first Hollywood motion picture. And roll credits. And roll credits.
How many roads must a man walk down before they call him a man? How many seas must a white
Very Tarantino-esque.
Yeah.
She sleeps in the sand.
And I don't know how your movie ends, Doug. So whatever scene in your mind, how your movie ends, whether it's somebody walking off into the sunset or driving off into the sunset, you can kind of imagine this playing in the background as they're cruising away. And a little dust in the wind.
What was the last scene? Man, what a thought.
Years must a mountain exist?
Yeah.
So what do you think, man? What do you think about that one for the closing credits?
I dig it. I think Tim did a good job here with his suggestions.
He did a fantastic job, man.
Yeah. A lot of scenes that aren't in the movie yet, but I mean, he which of course, you got to have some of these scenes in the movie. Like a hot ass New Orleans summer.
Oh yeah, of course.
Anti-Castro Cubans, So yeah, I think great job. And he says he enjoys everything we do, and thank you so much for doing it. Well, thank you, Tim, for your email. And I just got to say here, Doug.
Yeah.
I know we're catching Joe Borelli off guard by doing it this soon. We done fucked him up. He did not get in. He did not get in his question in time for this show.
And you know what? I didn't even think to tell him.
I know. Me either. I totally forgot. But he should check. Yeah. Like every weekend, he should check. Hey, guys, when are you doing the next quick hit? So he knows when to get his thing in.
Joe, we will dutifully answer 2 emails next month of yours.
Yeah. So send them in, Joe.
Oh, Joe, I don't know if Joe's aware, but the whole, what about the whole John Martin, Jack Martin thing? Somebody told me that popped up in the Ed Forum, apparently. The whole, there's 1,000 John Martins deal.
Oh, yeah, I kind of popped it in there on him. Yeah, I mean, dude.
That's all Joe's research right there. Hell.
Yeah, I mean, it's stuff we've stumbled across and stumbled over, and Joe's helped out with a lot. And I told Joe, I said, look, man, when you get your shit together and we figure all this out, we'd love to have you come on the show and discuss all these various J. Martin names.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of them when you're looking at Jim Martin, James Martin, Jack Martin, Jean Martin, John Martino.
Yeah, really, man. Yeah.
You start really getting into all these J. Martin names. I think we're up to like 12 or 13 just in the assassination milieu of shit.
Milieu?
Statistically is unheard of.
Milieu?
I mean, I know John Smith or James Martin is probably not I mean, that's a fairly common name, but I can't think of 12 John Smiths associated with the assassination. I mean,
All
can
right.
you, Doug?
How many times do you get 12 John Smith associated with the same murder? Or 12 people with the same name associated with the same murder? It's crazy.
Right. And one of them just, well, you have two of them with the same name, one recording the events in Dealey Plaza, and another recording things months prior, like General Walker's house and the Oswald Street fracas, all on the same reel.
Yeah, that's no coincidence. No way. No fucking way. No way.
Right.
It's just not. It's just not. I mean, give me a break. I know there are people out there that are still trying to push, it was a coincidence. No, it wasn't. Come on.
It sounds to me like it was a generic CIA pseudonym that people used. I mean, it has to be. When you look at John Martino, well, I don't know, because I'm, Latino. John Martino, Jean Martin, because I'm French.
That was his real name. His real name, John Vincent Martino, was his name.
Yeah, maybe.
But it's maybe. Yeah, I heard that. But yeah, it's crazy, man. But yeah, Joe, sorry, buddy. Sorry we sprung one on you there.
Yeah, but yeah, look for that in the future. And like I said, Joe, get them in next time. Just go ahead and put them in. Just get them in there.
It's really kind of our fault, but hey.
Yeah.
We're
and
sorry.
You can too, folks, just send your emails to quickhitsjfk@gmail.com. And you too can have your email read and commented on here live on the air with your boy Rob and Doug. And we may make fun of you. We may troll you, but we love you. And it's all done out of love.
100%. 100%. Man, what a great show, Rob. What a full show, huh?
Yes, very full.
Very, very, very.
Bursting at the seams.
Bursting at the seams. That's right.
Much like my ball sack at this time.
You probably need to get out more, I'm thinking.
Inshallah.
Hey, man, sometimes you got to, there's that whole manual thing. Sometimes, dude.
Yeah.
It's a must.
Yeah. I know. Well,
listen, before we get too deep into that subject, let's get the fuck out of here and enjoy this beautiful weekend. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Rob, kick us off. There's the music.
All right. If you dug this show, then you will probably like the show that I do on my own. It's called the Lone Gunman Podcast. You probably know about it already, but if you don't, just Google it. You can listen anywhere that you're listening to this show right now. And if you'd like to follow along on social media, at the Lone Gunman 7 on the Twitters. Fuck Facebook at this point. Doug!
And a double for YouTube, I'm telling you. And please, hey, catch my podcast, The Dallas Action. Presented by Wall Street Window, everywhere you find quality podcasts. What we do is historical study, research, and analysis of the people, places, things, events, and ideas related to the JFK assassination. It is everywhere you find quality podcasts, and like this show, it is another fine podcast from Drop D Podcast Productions in the heart of Music Row, Music City, USA. So, for Rob Clark and Momo Scaranucci, this is Doug Campbell saying tune in again next time when, while explaining how he managed to console himself after finding out that Oliver Stone now finds Fletcher Prouty's Lansdale in Dealey Plaza allegations to be simply not believable, we'll hear Len Osanic say,
I mean, nobody wants to admit to eat 9 cans of ravioli, but I did. I'm ashamed of myself. But the first can doesn't count, and then you get to the second, and then the third. And fourth and fifth, I think I burned with the blowtorch, and then I just kept eating.
Well, canned Italian food as a means for dealing with the existential dread that comes with impending obsolescence. I like it, Rob. I like it. We are out.
Stockpile now. Peace.